Hey, I want to tell you a story while my nails dry. I'm not going to excuse my appearance because it's what I look like. So, not yesterday, not the day before that, the day before that, I experienced the fucking weirdest and worst yoga class of my entire life. So a little bit of backstory. I've been doing yoga since 2015, fairly consistently. So you could say, I still class myself as very much a beginner, but you could say I'm like reasonably experienced. I've practiced mostly at home, but lately I've been going to a lot of studios and I've been experimenting with various styles of yoga. For those of you who don't know, there is a certain style of yoga called Yin. Actually, I'm going to Google exactly what Yin, so I don't give you the wrong word definition. Yin Yoga. It's a slow-paced style of yoga, incorporating principles of Poses are held for longer periods of time. Okay, so it's quite chill. You might say it's quite easy. It's more of like a mental yoga than a physical yoga. You're not going to be like pumping sweat and like really super active. So that's what Yin Yoga is. There's this particular studio that my friends have been raving about, any of my yogi friends, and even some of my friends that aren't into yoga. I'm not going to name and shame. I'm not in the business of like putting people on blast. Well, I actually am, but I'm not going to do it in this circumstance because I just don't need any aggro. My friends have been raving about this particular yoga studio. I've heard nothing but good things, even through social media, but they're not on ClassPass. So I was, €17 class. The mean bitch in me was like, absolutely not, I'm not paying €17 class. But I had it on my list to try it out. So myself and my friend Lisa, who's also my hairdresser, I was getting my hair done a few weeks ago and we've been talking for months about grabbing a Yin Yoga class together. So this time we were like, fuck it, let's get out the diaries. Let's do Yin Yoga class, this particular date in this particular studio. Great, so we booked and I begrudgingly paid the €17 for this yoga class. I was so excited because, as I said, I've heard nothing but good things. So we both turn up and we get our little spot at the back of the studio. Studio's gorgeous, really nicely lit, like loads of like really typical yoga props like candles and Buddhas. It's gorgeous. So I was really excited. I rolled out my mat, threw down a bolster and I like draped myself across it, and Lisa was beside me and we were just like, oh, this is going to be so divine. So I always try and get there maybe 10 or 15 minutes before class. I don't know, I'm a bit of a geek like that. I want to get like the good position. I want to pick my place in the studio. So we have our spot. So it's coming up to time for the class to start. The teacher comes in and goes, okay everyone, huddle together, we've more people coming. So I was like, grand, okay. So we all hooshed our mats over to make space for new people. Fine. Couple of minutes later, again she comes in, all right guys, we've 3 more people, we're gonna all have to hoosh up some more. At this stage I'm like, Lisa, me and you are gonna be nose to nose at this stage, so our mats were like that much apart. In Yin, you often have to kind of sprawl across your mat and you take up quite a lot of space compared to maybe other forms of yoga. So I was like, oh god, I hope this is not going to be a shit show. So eventually I'm quite close to Lisa's mat and the girl beside me, her mat, the edge of it is kissing the edge of my mat, okay? Anyway, class starts. The teacher first off starts by saying, okay guys, timekeeping, or she mentioned something about timekeeping and then said, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty stressed right now. And I was like, okay, way to dump your stress on us. We're here to chill, this is Yin. Anyway, so the class kicked off. She did a nice little, I think a little bit of meditation at the start, bit of breathing exercise. I'm not a big fan of breathing work, but lots of people are, it's fine. Then she got us into a position where we were on our hunkers, and I'm going to put a clip in here exactly of what that looked like. It's not comfortable to hold for very long, and people were kind of starting to come in and out of it after about 45 seconds, a minute, and the teacher seemed to be getting a little bit disappointed in us. She was like, okay guys, come on, you need to hold this position. So she's like, okay fine, you need a break. So she let us come out of this hunkers position and then was like, okay guys, this time we're going to go into it, none of us are going to move and you're going to hold it for the 3 minutes. And I was like, first of all, I'm recovering from fucking 3 sprained ankles. I only have 2 ankles, but I've sprained one of them twice. So it's particularly uncomfortable for me on the right hand side. So, and I don't know if you get this vibe off me, I don't really like being told what to do. So we got back into the position anyway. About a minute in, I was like, fuck this, my body is telling me, it's screaming at me. My ankle is screaming at me to get out of this position. So I kind of bail and she throws a glance over my way. Whatever, I don't give a fuck. I'm paying you for a service here. Eventually, we come out of that pose, that's fine. And then she continues to put us into chair pose. Our chair is like half squat. Your quads would be on fire about 5 seconds into chair pose. And she tells us to hold that In Yin, anyone who's experienced in Yin will be like, chair in Yin? And it's at that point I knew this class is going to be a clusterfuck, and I was getting so angry. At this stage, I'm like, Lisa, this is not a fucking Yin class. This is not a Yin class. What the fuck's going on? And Lisa was like, I know. I think Lisa was more trying to keep me calm so I wouldn't cause a scene. Later on in the class, she gets us to take bridge pose, which is you're lying on the floor, your knees are bent so your feet are like planted on the mat, and you lift your hips off the ground like a hip thrust, but you're like, hold it. Usually in Yin, always in Yin, that's supported. You'll put like a bolster under your hips or a block under your hips so you can just kind of drape yourself across the prop and just let yourself be. But no, she had us hold bridge. I was going, this is preposterous. If you came here to relax, you would literally be like pumping sweat. Lisa, I don't know how she did it, fucking hero. She held the pose for whatever, the 2.5-3 minutes. I was like, I didn't even start. So I grabbed a block and I shoved it under my hips and I kind of draped there. The teacher came over to me, squatted over me. So she's looking down and I'm like what do you want? What in God's name are you gonna do to me here? And she said, have you a shoulder injury? I said, yeah, I have a bit of a GP shoulder at the moment. I have a few injuries. I'm dealing with some at the moment. And she goes, okay, but your shoulder injury? And I said, yeah, it's okay. Like I was kind of brushing her off. Like, I don't need an adjustment. Like, move away. She then squats down, grabs me behind so like back here on my lats, and starts to like pull me towards the sky. And instantly I was like, what do you do? And I said, you know, I have a block under my hips. That's a really not cute angle. And she goes, why have you a block? And I got a little bit sassy there, and even Lisa was like, oh God. I goes, I signed up for a relaxing class, so that's why I have the block. And she made some sort of like flippant face like that, and then just like left me alone. But she had hoisted my lower back, or not my lower back, my middle to upper back up. Weirdest thing ever. So anyway, the class came to an end. At one stage, like in Shavasana, which is the final pose, you basically just lie there and you just chill out, relaxed. And you're advised to take up space, like open up your legs, open up your arms. And my foot kept hitting off the person next to me. It was such a shit show of a class. I was never so happy to roll up my mat and get the fuck out of there. I hopped into Lisa's car with her and I was like, Lisa, what in the ever-living fuck was that about? And Lisa was like, I know. So we had a bit of a debriefing. I actually felt so strongly about it. I sent an email to the studio going like, I cannot believe for a studio with such a good reputation and for the price, could not believe it. There was so many of us in that room, I reckon we were a fire hazard. It couldn't have aligned with the health and safety of the building. Definitely not. If there'd been a fire, we were fucked. Anyway, that is my little story. I don't know if I'm any good of a storyteller, but that is exactly what happened, and it was a fucking shit show. I said I would share that. Maybe some of you might get some entertainment out of it. God, 9 minutes, okay. So that was my weirdest and worst yoga class. I've heard a few horror stories about yoga classes, and honestly, if that had been my first ever yoga class, that would have put me off for life. I probably would never go back again to try it again, because that was just wild. It was a wild ride. Anyway, listen, if you managed to make it this far and you haven't X'd out the video with boredom, thanks a million for watching. If you want to hear more like random stories about random shit that's happened to me, I'd be happy to do it. But again, I don't know how good of a storyteller I am. Listen, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.